Today we're going to look at the Whispered Ah. The Whispered Ah is a Alexander technique exercise, but probably also overlaps with other techniques. It's not clear that Alexander invented the Whispered Ah. Perhaps he didn't. Perhaps it was around before him. Let's just say it's a vocal exercise and used by a number of disciplines, probably. And Alexander technique certainly uses it and teaches it and tries to integrate it into the Alexander paradigm. I will show you how I think about it, and other teachers might think about it differently. The idea is to help you to release the jaw, release the throat, vocalize in a relaxed way. For me, the most important thing is that you vocalize, you use your jaw and you actually vocalize without distorting this free balance of the head and spine. So without kind of jamming yourself. And in that way, that's how it fits in for me to the whole Alexander paradigm. You do a movement and you see, how does it influence that sort of central freedom and support of your head and spine. All right, so we're going to break it down. The first thing I want you to do is find that central support. For me, that means actually starting by turning your attention external to the body, really noticing the space around you and just the geometry of things around you. You can even notice that there's space behind you. And you give yourself time to actually let these cues sort of sink in. You sort of stay with a cue for a little bit of time until, for example, the space behind you starts to become a little bit more real, a little bit more three-dimensional. And that space behind you can sort of permeate into the space in front of you. So you've got space behind you, you've got space in front of you, and you start to get a sense that there's space all around you. Now let's just talk about gravity for a minute. Gravity travels right along the verticals, which you can see. You can see tons of verticals around you. So that gives you a cue as to where the vertical is. Without losing that sense of space around you, see if you can notice that your body basically points along that vertical so that gravity can go straight down through it. That's not something you do, that's something you notice and allow your body to adapt to. So you're kind of letting go of a tunnel focus. You're noticing gravity. You're relating to your body as something that can meet gravity. And you can notice now the chair or the floor is what supports you. That's what pushes you up against gravity. So we've got this spatial awareness. We've got the vertical. We've got gravity. We've got the chair pushing you up. Just like you're a vase on a table or something. And at the top of this line pointing up is your head, which meets the spine right at the line between the bottom of the earlobes. Now we don't want this cue to suck you in. We want you to stay with the space, stay with the sense of the vertical, gravity, the support of the chair, and the head balances way up on top of the spine. And that spine travels through a curve down to the pelvis to meet the chair. Your shoulder girdle is soft and open. It's not pulling forward, not pulling backwards. And there's a sort of a sense of the width of the front and the back of your trunk. nice and easy in the legs. And you can cycle through these directions and sort of enjoy the effect that they have on the body and the quality of attention. Very three-dimensional, very much paying attention to support rather than the activity, not going into a tunnel of focus, and a nice balance. The head way up on top of the spine, connecting to the chair. Now the trick with the Whisper Da, like any Alexander exercise, is can we maintain this? Can we maintain a sense of that lengthening spine and the three dimensions and the head balance? Or does it go the other way? When you open your jaw to vocalize, do you jam the head at all? Or do you lose that sense of space or length in your spine or openness in the trunk? So we're just now going to start by opening the jaw a few times and see if you can keep your attention on everything we just practiced. So you open the jaw, but your attention is practicing all the cues we just practiced. And if you have your own version of those cues, that's fine. So you can start to combine the opening of the jaw with an exhale. That's it, super simple. Now you might feel some stuff going on in the neck, the jaw. You know, there's some muscle activity required to move the jaw through space. When you feel that, try to refresh the directions that you're working with so that as little as possible the jaw does not disturb those qualities of attention and support. Now don't do this too many times in a row because you'll hyperventilate. Just paying attention to the jaw, and the exhale tends to slow the exhale down, and you start breathing more deeply, and even a little bit more deeply than is normal. So you start getting a flow of oxygen in and a CO2 out, and you can overdo it. You just do one or two and then go back to just thinking whatever, take a break. So we can now add in a few details. One is anatomical, that the jaw, if you put your finger right in front of the hole of the ear, you can feel that top joint of the jaw, and you'll feel that the whole jaw doesn't just hinge, it also slightly slides forward. And that gives you a kind of geometrical sense of that motion of the jaw through this three-dimensional space. So it's actually going away from the spine, at least at the top, and the bottom is not pulling in at all. So it's kind of like a rotation and a motion forward together. You can see how that affects the opening of the jaw. Now remember, the goal here is to keep 90% of your attention on all those directions that we worked on. Yeah, the space, the support, the length of the spine, the balance of the head, the width of the trunk and shoulders. So we're going to add in a couple more ideas. Again, fitting into the Alexander tradition, the face is, if there's a slight smile in the mouth and the side of the eyes, then that can help to release the jaw and give a little bit more of a kind of communication aspect to this exercise. So you can think of something funny. You can think of something funny. You can. A colleague of mine recommends, imagine smelling something very delicious. Or you can just imagine the sides of the mouth kind of slightly perking up and the sides of the eyes perking up to give those kind of happy wrinkles on the side of your eyes. So you start to introduce a little smile. Now you start to hear, I'm actually making a little sound, and it's almost an ah sound. That's just because the tongue is relaxed, the whole mouth is open, and so with the exhale, that's a natural ah sound. So if you want to add just a little more vocalization, you can actually make it into a whispered ah sound. Now I like to do mine nice and slow. Some people do it faster. It doesn't matter. The thing is that you're working on these directions as you're vocalizing. So you're working on keeping the jaw nice and easy, but from an Alexander perspective, you're working on that head balance, spinal length, three-dimensional awareness, not getting sucked into the body, trunk open, shoulders open, etc. Okay, I'm going to add a couple more things. Again, the list of thoughts is getting longer and longer. So these are really things for you to play with. And again, a large percent of your attention is just asking yourself, am I disturbing the balance of my spine and that sort of free, mobile verticality? Or not? Can I keep that going? Can I keep that open? So the last two thoughts are, number one, that the spine comes up behind the jaw. It comes as a surprise to a lot of people. But you can use that to accentuate that idea of the jaw sort of dropping and opening forward in a way. But the last thing I want you to add in is a kind of communicative feel to your face and your mouth. So not only are you connecting to the space, but you're also imagining projecting that ah out into the world as if you're presenting or singing or communicating. So let's see how that goes. Yeah, it gives me a happy feeling of almost being like a whispering singer in front of an audience. It can help to accentuate that 3D sense. That idea of projecting outward always helps with livening up the spine and getting a little energy in the trunk. Whew, so that's it. Play with it and see what you can figure out. Okay, enjoy.